In this video, we will discuss how to implement Mixpanel via our server-side SDKs and the pros and cons of doing so. I will also show example calls to send an event via the Python SDK. You can find a list of available server-side SDKs in our documentation. Server-side SDKs allow you to instrument code on your server to track actions to Mixpanel as they are performed by users. The pros of utilizing server-side SDKs are that they are not susceptible to ad blockers, they provide more consistency when tracking users across platforms, and implementation mistakes can be quickly fixed. The cons of utilizing server-side SDKs are that it can be harder to track user interactions that only happen on the client, and custom code might be required to track users from anonymous to identified states. Consider implementing via a server-side SDK if you are either able to or have no need to track clickstream data, and if you have an existing backend framework with resources to implement within that framework. Let's take a quick look at a Python implementation. Once you have installed the Python SDK, you can make the call to initialize the SDK, and then you can make a track call to trigger an event into Mixpanel. Let's trigger this event and see that event show up in Mixpanel. Here's the event I tracked via the Python SDK. You can tell it came from our Python SDK as the Mixpanel library will be set to Python. And you can see that the source property that I passed on the event returns as Google, which is what I personally set on the property before I sent it in. If you have any questions, check out our docs, leave a comment, or join our Slack community. Thanks for watching.